You know those stories about, well, ghosts. I know. Most people think they're bogus, and so did I, and I can't say what I experienced was real, because for all I know it wasn't. However, when you see things, and you can't explain them, you either make up explanations for them, or, you pass them off as nothing. But even if they are nothing, there's always something, a voice in the back of your mind telling you that was real. I'm not lying about any of these things that happened to me. There was a story at my high school about a girl that hung herself in the theater, and I never really believed it until I found a newspaper article about it. So one Friday night, my friends and I decided to go to the school and look through the hall. We all split up. I went to the theater. I regret it. So I went into the theater. I kept thinking about her. What would she look like? Was the story even true? I mean, I'd seen the articles, but surely she wouldn't hang around the place where she died. I mean, it's such a horrible memory. But I just stood there. No one was in there with me. Just alone in the theater. Empty. I believe most ghost stories until that night. As I said, I was just standing there, looking around. Not all the lights were off, but most of them were. None of the stage lights were on. It was a Saturday night. My friends were somewhere else in this school. I was just a junior that year. It was 1985, I believe. I don't like to remember that night. I stood there listening, trying to communicate. I'd watched a few ghost shows on TV, but I didn't really know how to communicate. I just did what I saw on TV. I didn't think I'd actually connect with anything. I didn't even know if it was real. I recall her name was Katie, I believe, from the newspaper clippings. So I called out, Katie. Katie. Yes. I didn't really hear anything at first. Then I heard a tapping, but I'm sure it could have just been a rat. It couldn't have been anything. I mean, that's all it was. Just 3 taps. I thought, could be a ghost. Could be nothing. Could be my mind playing tricks on me, as I've seen on television. Many shows depict people who think that they hear things, but then it was sensory deprivation. But what happened next, I'm sure, could not have been due to sensory deprivation. Or could it have? It was as if the thing, I can't say if it was human, knew then and there that I was looking for something. And while it couldn't show me yet, how can I explain this? It made a noise as if to say, I'm going to show you something. At this point, I'm sure someone was just playing tricks on me. So I listened again very closely. Very closely. Almost inaudible. You have to listen closely in these things. Suddenly, out of the blue, I hear a faint Piano. The last time I knew or checked, we didn't have a piano. But then I remembered we had just recently gotten one, literally within a week ago. At this point, I had no idea where my friends were. Probably one of them might have just been messing with me again. But it was the faintest thing. Just 3 simple notes. I mean, this is nothing to go off of, but I could have sworn I heard the faintest "help me," but I wasn't sure. Then I saw a figure. So small, so infinitely fast. The corner of my eye. Well, you know how they talk about shadows moving at the corner of your eye, but then you don't actually see it once you turn, and usually it's just your mind playing tricks on you. Yet it wasn't a shadow at all. It was a white, almost a girl, but I couldn't be sure. I could have sworn I saw it. Running right up the aisle. See, I was standing in the middle, about halfway down the middle aisle, looking at the stage. And it was to the left of me that I saw it. Whoosh. Ran right past. And I knew I wasn't alone. At this point, I was almost scared shitless. I mean, I knew I wasn't in any real danger yet. So I walked down, as I had literally been standing there for God knows how long. Probably 30 minutes or so. So I stupidly went backstage. That's really what made me regret the night. If I had just walked out then, like any sensible person, I wouldn't be telling this story today. So, I went up, walked up on the stage. I had been in theater a few times, and it was fun remembering. Thought about acting out a few other scenes, but there wasn't time. Not with her in there. I didn't know how long I had to catch it. I call it a her because that's what I saw. But what you see is not always what's necessarily there or not. So I slowly walked up the stairs of the stage, left, and the curtains were closed, so instead of going behind where the hall dips around, there's a way to get backstage if you go through a door. I just went through the curtains, slowly pushing them over. And again, my friends, I knew they hadn't left me because we all came in the same car, and we were all looking for the ghost of the girl. A few of them disagree with the story that she hung herself in the theater. That's why they were in different parts of the school. But I didn't. I just felt drawn. I knew I had to go to the theater. So as I was saying, I was standing backstage looking for a light switch. There it was, the tapping again, this time twice. I ignored it. I kept looking for the light switch. I couldn't really find a switch per se. I found these dials on the wall. They looked ancient. I turned one, and a small light at the other end of the room, at the backstage, slowly turned on. I should have never turned that light on. Right there, standing in the corner by a table, was a girl in a white dress. Well, I mean, I could barely tell. It was very dirty and tattered. and she just stared at me. At first, I thought she was just a mannequin. I didn't think it was real. She was tapping on the table. I didn't think to see why or when or who she was, or even if she was real or if this was my mind. I ran out of there as fast as I've ever run. I couldn't seem to get away fast enough. I could have sworn I heard breathing. As I was running, something was breathing over my shoulder. But again, she was sitting by the table. It couldn't be her. I ran out of the theater. I ran down the hall. I saw one of my friends, stopped, looked behind me. Nothing. No one. I knew it could have just been my mind. I told him about what I saw. He insisted we go back in there. I said, no way in hell. We met up with the others and I told them what I saw, and they didn't believe me. Only the first friend. Then the lights went out in the school. We've had power problems before, but not like this. Not all at once. Bam! Darkness. We were scared shitless at this point. I'm sure they believe me now, because as I looked off into the darkness, as I couldn't see anything, I heard that unmistakably familiar sound. We ran. That's all I remember from that point. We ran out of the school. We used our phones for the lights. Out through the door, we all got in the car and we drove off. Ryan, the driver, dropped us all off at our houses. I went inside and I locked the door and shut my blinds in my room. I couldn't sleep that night, and I'm glad I didn't. As I tried to sleep, I heard it